Hello everyone, welcome to English Now. This is 10 phrasal verbs you'll actually use in daily life. This is going to be the third video of phrasal verb series wherein we shall be discussing the new 10 phrasal verbs which will be useful for you in your daily life. So let's start the video and let's see who are going to be benefited by watching this video. The video will be useful for students who find phrasal verbs difficult and for people who want to speak English smoothly and confidently. So these 10 phrasal verbs will be useful for you. So let's start the video with my asking, why does add up not mean just adding numbers? And why does act up have nothing to do with acting? Why does this happen? If you ever felt confused by phrasal verbs, today I'll help you figure them out and start using them in your daily life confidently. So let's start the video with the first phrasal verb, which is account for. Account for means to explain the reason for something. Account for, explain the reason for something. So we can have example sentences for this as well. So let's start that. Account for, to explain the reason for something. The manager asked me to account for the missing money, which means the manager asked me to explain the reason. Account for means to explain the reason. Explain the reason, account for. How do you account for your sudden success? How do you account for sudden success? Which means how do you explain the reason for your sudden success? Account for, explain the reason. Account for. Now the next phrasal verb is act as. Act as, which means to perform the role of something. Act as. For example, this room acts as my office, which means this room performs the role of my office. Act as, which means to perform the role of. This room acts as my office. This room performs the role of my office. Act as, perform the role of. So you can look at the picture also. This room acts as my office, which means this room performs the role of my office. We have another example as well. She acted as a guy during the trip. Act as, which means to perform the role. She performed the role of a guy during the trip. Act as, to perform the role. Act as. So you have to use these phrasal verbs in your daily life as well. The third phrasal verb is act on, which means to take action based on advice or information. Act on, to take action based on advice or information. So act on. Let's talk about some examples. He acted on his teacher's advice, which means he took action based on the advice of his teacher. He acted on his teacher's advice. Act on, to take action based on advice. The police acted on the tip quickly. Act on, which means took action. The police took action based on the advice of the tip quickly. Act on, to take the action based on advice. Now tip over here means a piece of secret or useful information. Any kind of information or any kind of secret will be tip, T-I-P, tip. The police acted on the tip quickly. The police took action based on the advice. Act on, to take action based on the advice. Now this is the police, which is taking action on the tip, the secret information. The fourth phrasal verb of today's video is act up. Act up means to behave badly in the case of human and stops working properly at the time of talking about machine. Act up. It has two meanings. This is used for both people and machines. Act up. Let's talk about some examples. The kid is acting up in the class, which means the kid is behaving badly in the class. Act up means to behave badly in the case of a human. And let's talk about machine. My phone is acting up again, which means my phone is stopping or stops working properly. Again, act up, to stop working properly. Fifth phrasal verb is add to. Add to means to increase something, to augment. And this is used when something makes a situation bigger or worse or even sometimes better. So let's talk about some example of add to. His rude behavior added to my anger. Added to, increased. His rude behavior increased my anger. This is what the statement wants to convey the message. His rude behavior added to my anger. Added to means increased. Now, the music added to the beauty of the place. Added to increased, which means the music increased the beauty of the place. Added to, increase the beauty. Increase the beauty, added to. Next phrasal verb is add up. Add up means to make sense. Add up, to make sense. Explanation: if something doesn't add up, it feels wrong or confusing. Add up. Add up means to make sense. Your story doesn't add up, which means your story doesn't make sense. Add up, to make sense. Your story doesn't add up, your story doesn't make sense. And something about this case isn't adding up, which means to make sense. Something about this case is not making sense. Add up, which means to make sense. The seventh phrasal verb of today's video is add up to. Add up to, which means to result in or to lead to a total. It has also got two meanings, add up to. So let's talk about both of these. For example, small mistakes add up to big problems, which means small mistakes result in the big problems. Add up to, result in. All his efforts added up to success, which means all his efforts led to a total of success. Added up to means lead to a total or to result in. Added up to. All his efforts added up to success. The next phrasal verb is aim at. Aim at, which means to target something. Aim at, to target something. This is used for goals or physical targeting. Aim at, to target something. Let's talk about some examples. This course is aimed at beginners, which means this course targets the beginners, is designed for beginners. Aimed at, to target beginners. This course is aimed at beginners. He aimed the ball at the target, which means he targets the ball at the target. Target, the blue color one, is noun, which means the object or point you're trying to hit. As you can see in the image, he aimed the ball at the target. Aimed at, which means to target. To target. To target is verb, and the blue color one is noun, target, which means the object or point you're trying to hit. This is the image of the target you're trying to hit. The ball on it. This is the learning target. Next one is allow for. Allow for, which means to consider something in advance. Allow for, to consider something in advance. So this is used while planning, while keeping possible problems in mind. At the time of planning anything, while keeping possible problems in mind, that is the time when we use allow for. So let's talk about some examples. We must allow for traffic delays. We must allow for traffic delays, which means we must consider traffic delays in advance. We must allow for, consider traffic delays in advance. Consider anything in advance, allow for. The budget allows for extra expenses, which means the budget considers extra expenses in advance. Allow for, to consider something in advance. Allow for. And the 10th and the last phrasal verb of today's video is amount to. Amount to, which means to be equal to or result in. To be equal to, amount to, or to result in. This is often used for results and sometimes negative as well. Amount to be equal to or to result in. So let's talk about some examples. His words amount to a threat, which means his words equal to threat. His words amount to threat means his words equal to threat. This mistake could amount to failure, which means this mistake could result in failure. Amount to, result in. Amount to, result in. Alright, so these were the 10 phrasal verbs. You have to try to use at least 2 of these phrasal verbs in your daily life from today on, and this is how you'll build up fluency gradually. Alright, that's all for today's video. How did you like the video and what else do you want to watch? You can share your thoughts down in the comment box. We'll meet again with a different topic in a different video. Until then, take care and thank you for watching.